All right. Let's start with the peace chant. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may the all-pervading Spirit protect us. May the all-pervading Spirit nourish us. May we work together with great energy. May our study be illuminating. May love and harmony dwell amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto all. So here we are on Katha Upanishad. We have seen so far that Nāciketa is talking with Yama, who is the god of death. And Yama granted Nāciketa 3 boons. First boon, he said, let my dad be free from anxiety. And when we go back, let there be no problem in reconciliation. Second boon was, what is that fire ritual that takes one to the heaven? And then Yama grants both the boons. First, yes, your father will be fine. Second, here are the details of the fire ritual. I'm going to teach you all of these details about the ritual. I will tell you. And he tells Nāciketa. Nāciketa understands them well, repeats back, and Yama becomes very happy. He says he actually grants 2 extra boon. So what do you remember? What are the 2 extra boons Nāciketa were offered?
The ritual will be called Nāciketa sacrifice.
Uh-huh.
And he gave him a garland of precious gems.
Yes. So one garland of precious gems, and said that henceforward this fire ritual will be known by your name. One thing worth noticing, I hope you have noticed this, that the Upanishad emphasizes, Yama says, that merely performing this sacrifice is not enough. So we might think that the ritualists were leading a life, whatever life they wanted to lead, and they had to just perform some fire rituals or whatever it is to get the result. But if you look at the last verse that we read, Yama said that not only doing this ritual, but one has to be instructed by the three, like well instructed by the mother, the father, and the teacher. And they should also be doing their threefold duties, 3 daily duties. One is yajna, means doing something to connect with the larger, the infinite, the ultimate, whether by way of offering into the fire or by expanding our horizon by other means, other 5 types of daily rituals we had mentioned, like offering something for the gods, and offering something or remembering the ancestors for whatever they did for us, then remembering the teachers who handed us wisdom. So how we do that? By studying, and like this. And then sadhya, serious study of the scriptures and spiritual literature, as well as reflection on them. And so also a life of charity, life of charity. So leading a only selfish life and a life which is not based on dharma, morality, one could not simply bypass all of this and could not simply go to heaven. If these fire ceremonies really used to take one to heaven, Yama implied in the previous verse that doing this ritual is not enough. One has to have all these other qualities too, properly instructed and also following the duties, daily duties. So that is very interesting that uh, whether one seeks moksha, the spiritual emancipation, or whether one seeks heaven, one had to lead a life of dharma. That is the message of the Vedanta. I don't want that spiritual illumination. I only want heaven. And so I don't have to lead any moral life or disciplined life. That is not the case. That is not the case. Okay. So have to live the life as well as perform the ritual, knowing it well and doing it perfectly as it should be done. If someone can do that 3 times, this fire ritual, then they will go to heaven. So that is Yama ended. That is what we had in our last class. Now, Yama again praises this ritual, fire ritual. Okay, it in the previous one it uh, praised this fire ritual that this will be named after you and done it thrice, done it well, perfectly thrice. One goes to heaven, given that they have followed these things. Now he will say further things about this fire ritual. So he almost repeats tri-ṇāciketaḥ trayaṁ etat viditvā. Yaha evaṁ vidvān cinute nāciketam saha mṛtyu-pāśān purataḥ praṇudya śoka-atigaḥ modate svarga-loke. He who, having known the three, has performed 3 times the Nāciketa fire, transcends even here chains of death, overcomes grief, and rejoices in the heavenly world. So this verse is quite simple, that one who does this Nāciketa fire 3 times, so not 1 time, 3 times, but then what happens? They transcend the chains of death. So what does it mean? Transcending the chains of death? We may think of the overcoming the fear of death, because one is going beyond this world, and they are going to heaven by performance of these rituals. So they are, as it were, overcoming the fear of death. And secondly, they rejoices in the heavenly world. Say, and this rejoicing, according to Vedanta, is a temporary thing, which ultimately will end. Someone will have to come back. But if you remember, Upanishads also speak about 2 other paths, right? One is liberation, living liberation in this life. Other is gradual liberation. Gradual, that is, if someone has done a lot of good work and also started their spiritual journey with deep earnestness and also tried to follow all of this, but could not achieve their spiritual goal. What will happen? They say that they don't have to return anymore, but gradually they will be liberated. They will miss out on what? They will miss out on Jivan Mukti, the joy of being free in this very life, living a life free from fear, free from anxiety, free from, grief, free from all bondages, a life of spontaneity and freedom. That will be one missing out on if one does not aspire this spiritual knowledge. Otherwise, if someone leads a good life, follows certain rules, and performs the fire sacrifice as it should be, then they might go to the heavenly world, and gradually, they may merge with the infinite. That is one path. So I think that is why Yama says that those who have done this fire sacrifice 3 times, they overcomes death and overcomes grief. They rejoices in the heavenly world. But here, um, Yama also added something. One who has done this Nāciketa fire 3 times, having known the three, viditvā trayaṁ. So what are the having known the three? What it might mean? What do you guess? Having known the three. Having known the three, if someone performs the ritual thrice, then they overcome death. So what having known the three might mean?
With the 3 bodies.
3 bodies. 3 bodies. The subtle body, the physical body, and the causal body. Having known the three. Okay. Any other guess? Yes.
I will guess.
Yes.
I would go back to the previous verse where it mentions 3 and see if there's some parallel. So maybe having known the instruction of the 3 teachers,
right,
like not simply passively been exposed to it, but having known it and internalized it. And the other 3 that was mentioned in the previous verse was the 3 repetitions of the fire sacrifice. And then that is repeated again in this mantra.
Yeah.
Having done the fire sacrifice 3 times and having known the 3. That could mean like having understood and internalized the meaning of the ritual itself on all 3 times. Like you didn't get bored and stop paying attention on the second time,
Oh, yeah. So having known all 3 times, done 3 times with full knowledge. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Maharaj,
Yes.
doing the charity,
Yes.
performing these yagas 3 times,
Yes.
and scriptural studies, svadhyaya.
Yes.
So
Yes.
scriptural studies.
Yes. 3 karma krit, 3 types of duties. One is yagya, sadhaya, and dana. Yagya is some daily ritual, and sadhya is study and reflection, and charity. These 3 could also mean. So other 3 can also mean that there's various interpretations. Other 3, it could be the type of brick needed and number of bricks that are needed and how should they be arranged. If you remember 2 verses ago, when they were explaining the conversation between Yama and Nāciketa, so they say the verse said, Yama told Nāciketa everything, such as how many bricks are needed, what types of brick, why the bricks. for making the altar, and what it should be the arrangement, whether it will be triangular or it will be circular or hexagonal. So we may be thinking, what's so much fuss about these three things? Maybe I am guessing, maybe everything else about the fire ceremony was known to all. Maybe these three were the secrets: type of brick, number of bricks, and arrangement. And that's why probably I am guessing that Yama told Nāciketa everything, especially these three things, which might have been the secret of that ritual. That probably that ritual was known to many people. They only did not know correctly number of bricks, their arrangement, and types of bricks. Okay, so maybe Yama is telling those who have performed the Nāciketa fire sacrifice, having known the three most important things: number of bricks, types of bricks, and arrangement of the bricks. Okay, that could be one interpretation. And my other idea will be all of the three. Having done all of the three, having known types of the bricks, etc., having been instructed by three, like parents and teacher, and having done the three daily kind of duties than one. All of these three can also mean having known the three. Okay, so it is a wild guess. Yes, Paul, you want to guess something, add something?
Yeah, actually, I wasn't raising my hand, but I'm having some thoughts.
Yeah.
I recently started reading the Ramayana, the Goldman and Goldman translation, and I'm in the first kanda, and it's talking about the Ashvamedha, the big sacrifice that Dasharatha puts
Did.
on in
Yeah.
order to get sons.
Yeah.
And it's very particular about he wants his purohita and everybody to do everything exactly by the book, but also it is very much emphasized that he has already these dharmic qualifications. So
Okay.
it's parallel to what we were just reading about in one of the previous mantras in this Upanishad,
Uh-huh.
and that you must perform the sacrifice correctly, but also you have to be a dharmic person, as well. So
Yes.
so that was interesting. And
Yeah.
then also, in the descriptions of the Ashvamedha that he performs, it talks about the bricks and how they arranged them and everything. And it
Okay.
says that they did the 18 layers of bricks, which was 3 times more than what was called for in the official liturgy. So there's again this tripling, it's like doing something 3 times.
Uh-huh.
And that relates to like magic formulas. If you repeat something 3 times, like at the end of
Mm.
the peace chant, Shanti,
Mm-hmm.
Shanti, Shanti,
Right.
it creates like a magical effect. Anyway,
Yeah.
these are just thoughts that I have
Yes.
on this subject.
Yes. Yes. And I also have another thought that the thought is um, having done Nāciketa sacrifice three times in a year, such year should be three, 3 times 3, that is total 9 times of Nāciketa fire sacrifice. But that is a very far-fetched. Tri-ṇāciketaḥ trayaṁ. So one who has done Nāciketa sacrifice 3 times is called tri-ṇāciketaḥ trayaṁ. So one who has done tri-ṇāciketaḥ thrice, that also could mean, but it will be very far-fetched. So rather, the three might include the quintessential knowledge about the three aspect of the ritual, or having been instructed by three, or having performed three types of daily rituals, or having done all of the above three. If someone does Nāciketa sacrifice thrice, they go to heavenly world. That is what uh, Yama assures Nāciketa. Okay.
So one other thing about that Ashvamedha and Ramayana is they perform it for 3 days. also.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So 3 is appearing to be a very magical thing. All right. Okay, so next verse. Next
Something-
verse. Yes.
Something also crazy about 3 is that in science, a lot of things are in triplets.
Okay. Such as?
Well, when we're making proteins and it's read in triplets. That's basically building block of life is always read in triplet. And then there are 3 primary colors as well. I don't know. Just something crazy
Yeah.
about number 3.
Right. Exactly. We can now find endless varieties of 3. True.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So next verse is very simple. In the next verse, Yama concludes the second boon by saying, so henceforward, people will be calling this fire by your name, and you still have one more boon to ask. Go ahead and ask that third boon. So verse 19, eṣaḥ te agniḥ nāciketāḥ svargyaḥ yam avṛṇīthā dvitīyena vareṇa etam agniṁ tava pravakṣyanti janāḥ tṛtīyaṁ varaṁ nāciketāḥ vṛṇīṣva. This is the heaven-leading fire, O Nāciketa, which you chose as your second boon. People will hereafter speak of this fire as Nāciketa's fire. Now, O Nāciketa, choose your third boon. Very simple. Yama wanted to make clear that although I have granted you 2 more extra, but your original 3 boons are still holds good. You still have 1 more boon to ask. And actually, the Upanishad, real Upanishad, begins from the next verse. Real Upanishad and the real question, from the third boon onwards, we really go into the real philosophical part of the Upanishad. Verse number 1.20. So Nāciketa asks for the third boon. What is the third boon he asks for? Ya iam prete vichikissa manushye asti iti eke na ayam asti eke iti cha eke etad vidyam anusishtaha taya aham varanam eṣaḥ varaḥ tṛtīyaṁ. So Nāciketa says now, here is a doubt regarding a person who is dead. Some people say that they exist after death, and others say that they do not. Instructed by you, I would like to understand this. Among the boons, this is the third boon. Fine. So here Nāciketa makes 2 points. One is that here is a doubt. There is a doubt. What is the doubt? Prete. Prete means after a person dies, there is a doubt. Doubt is, some people say that even after death, there is something that exists. And some say, no, after death, nothing exists. This is the doubt. So Nāciketa is taking considering 2 viewpoints. One is in Sanskrit called astika. Astika means those who believe, those who are believers in a soul. Astika. Okay, spiritual, those who have religious people or spiritual people who believe that death of the body is not everything. And there are materialists, Nastika, like Charvaka, those who say that nothing such exists after death. Okay. So Nāciketa says, so there is a doubt about it, whether it exists or not. Now, I want to know it being instructed by you. What is the truth? Is there anything that exists or nothing exists? So here it is important. Nāciketa emphasizes that I want to get instructed by you alone. So why? There's something deeper here, because if anything exists after death, we cannot perceive it through our senses. So from the point of view of philosophy, when we are talking about if there anything exists, the first thing will be what is the source of knowledge? If we want to know something, through what means we can know? And when it comes to spiritual knowledge about Atma and Brahma and spirituality, our direct perception fails. We cannot physically or tangibly feel or prove here is something that exists. Okay. And inference also. Inference, anumana, or logic is always should be based on prataḥ, based on perception. But if perception is not valid, then how logic will work? So the classic example here in this, in the literary circle, in the academic circle, parvato banniman dhumat. Okay. So the hill is on fire. The hill is on fire. How do I know? Dhumat. So I see the smoke. I see the smoke. Although I cannot see the fire, but from smoke, I infer that there is a fire. Because my experience has been wherever there is fire, there is smoke. So although I cannot directly perceive that there is fire, the mountain is on fire, I cannot see that, but from the smoke I can see. So prataḥ, so logic or anumana, inference, all are dependent on prataḥ. But here prataḥ or the direct perception is invalid for the proof of soul or spirit that exists. Okay. So only Vedanta, so this is the established thing about Vedanta. We may like it or not, no matter how much logic is given in favor of Vedanta, it ultimately boils down to our belief on the Upanishads and beliefs on the words of illumined people. So they say that Vedanta, which talks about Atma and Brahma, the only way of being instructed is through Upanishads and those who will teach us how to live the Upanishads. Okay, these two are the sources of knowing spiritual reality. So they give an example in traditional classes that trying to understand what is our true essence is like trying to see our own face. So we can see everything through our eyes, but to see our own face, we need a mirror. A mirror. It's a question about knowing the subject. Here, no matter, no amount of powerful glasses will help me. I need a mirror which will reflect my true nature. So in traditional setting, it is said the mirror to look at to understand our true nature are the Upanishads. And the ones who will teach us how to hold the mirror correctly. No, having the mirror alone won't help us. How to hold the mirror correctly, how to live the life that is in the Upanishad, that is the role of the teacher. And Nāciketa says that since you are here, so I want to clarify my doubt, because through logic, it cannot be concluded. It is inconclusive through logic. One can give a lot of logic in favor of spirit or soul, but remember, there are even stronger logics against all the logics. No matter how intelligently, how logically, how compellingly I put forward my conviction about the existence of soul or spirit, equally forcefully or strongly it can be negated. Okay. So ultimately, to know about Atma and Brahma, logic and all of these things won't matter. Only matter is the Upanishads, the faith in the Upanishad, and the faith in Apta-vakya. Apta means those who have reached their goal, illumined people, their vakya, that is their utterances. These two constitute agama pramana. Agama pramana means Shruti and Apta-vakya. Shruti means Upanishad or scripture plus Apta-vakya. That is the illumined people who have lived the life, who have lived the Upanishad. These two are the only sources about resolving the question about whether there is anything beyond death, beyond our physical, biological body. Is there anything that cannot be settled through perception or logic or inference? That has to be known from a person who has known the Upanishads. So that's why Nāciketa say, being instructed by you, I would like to know about, I want to clear the doubt whether there is something that exists beyond death or there is nothing that exists. Okay. That is Nāciketa's question. That is his third boon. First boon was extremely empirical, very practical about his father's health, father's mental peace. Second one was little more subtle about transcending this life of worldly life of death and birth and go to heaven and enjoy for more how to do that ceremony. And thirdly is there anything that survives the death? Survives. Because first of all, if there is nothing, there is no point in learning this fire ritual, right? If there is nothing that survives the death, what is the point in learning all these fire rituals? For example, the Charvakas, the Indian materialists, they used to say that if you throw bananas and yogurt into the fire, which is at the first level of a house, I cannot eat the bananas or yogurt sitting even in the second level. What to speak about these bananas and yogurts going to the heaven? So that was their logic. Okay, so, I mean, one of the logics they used to say, even against the belief of soul, one, they used to say that, rinam kritva ghitam privet, javat jivet sukham jivet. That is, if it requires to high loan, you take loan and eat butter. Butter is, this delicious thing, costly thing. So if you want to, if you rather take credit and eat them whatever you want to enjoy. Okay. And as long as you live happily, hedonistically, because who knows, who has seen what happens after death? So that is one of the their tenets. The other tenet was how do you know that whatever you are offering into the fire rituals, how they are reaching the gods? Even it cannot reach the second floor. I cannot eat those bananas in the second floor that you offer. What to speak of reaching heavenly world? So Nāciketa wants to know that which one to be believed, which one is correct, that really something exists after death or nothing. So that is what he asks for. Now let's see what Yama does. Any question about this verse, about the third boon? Any musing?
Yeah, I need some clarification on, he said that when he comes back,
Yeah,
he wants his father to recognize him and not be mad with him.
yeah,
Assuming he's coming back from death, right?
yeah.
So isn't that surviving death?
Yes, that's true. That is surviving death. He did not die any natural death, right? So it was his death is super unnatural. Just no disease, nothing. Just he was sent and he went. How did it happen? We don't know. So he reached to Yama intact, not as a ghost, intact, without dying. Okay, that is one thing for sure.
Yeah, but then he's asking,
Hmm.
is there anything
Yeah,
that survives
survives.
death?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But he
Yeah.
does survive death. That's why he knows he's going to come back.
Yeah, but he kind of did he think it this way that uh, can we beat death forever, or can one survive deaths after deaths? One time, okay. One time I came, you excuse me, I went away. But is it possible to the beat this game of dying and uh, taking birth forever? And that only makes sense if there is something beyond this physical body.
Okay.
Okay. That's why he asking this question.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
So, Amiji, can we say that since his father said, I will give you to the death, which is Yamadev, he actually meditated on Yama for 3 days with full concentration. And then, like Rishis, they heard the
Yeah.
what, spiritual messages.
Yeah.
Good thing, it can be taken like this, that after in his deep meditation, he heard this
Going to.
voice, and then because he was meditating on Yamadev, the death of Lord, this Upanishad
Yeah.
is talking like a conversation between Nāciketa and Yama,
Yeah.
but it be taken as because his father said, I'm giving it to Yama. He
Yeah.
really went into 3 days without eating anything, drinking, meditating on Yama. So if we don't take it literally that he went to Yama Loka with the same.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be one possibility, but directly what we find from the Upanishad, that Yama himself says that I'm sorry you had to wait for 3 days. Okay. So,
Maybe because he's such a little boy, the conversation didn't start on the first day, so he had to wait and do the.
yeah, yeah. That could be a possibility. Yes, of course. Yeah, we don't know exactly about. Yes.
Whereas this death is actually the physical death or the destruction or the ignorance. Because when someone is knows that his merging soul doesn't die and merges with Brahman, then already he is a deathless or fearless person. And even if he is living or not living, the soul merges with Brahman. That could be.
Yeah, just knowing it, just knowing that there is something beyond physical body is not everything, right? That has to be that knowledge has to be firm. That should be a matter of anubhuti, aparaksha anubhuti. Yes, yeah. Without that, it's not possible. I mean, here almost all of us more or less believe or have this conviction that there is something beyond physical body. But does it mean that all of us have transcended the fear of death? No, we have not. Okay. So to be established in that knowledge only, these instructions will begin to understand. Yeah.
In Vishnu Purana, this story comes about the river, and it said that then he goes back and then he becomes the king, and in that during that time after he becomes renunciate, he has to go through the training and the spiritual what I want to say, eh, spiritual studies and yogic practices all over again because of the wars he had to fight after he becomes a king and all that. So he didn't get the mukti at this time, but he got the knowledge from Yama. That's what it said in Vishnu Purana.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good to know that. Good to know. Yeah. Okay, Subhash, you want to ask something?
Let me unmute myself. Yeah. Not ask. I want to just tell that in scriptures, they say that there are three kinds of death. One is temporary death, where it can be retrieved. Like physician can, people like near-death experiences, they come back. Other like saints can save you, saints can be like we talked about in the life of Christ, a dead person comes back to life, and some other saints too, cases, man supposedly dead was saved. But then is the final death where you cannot come back. So maybe it was this kind where Nāciketa didn't die the final death. He was like one of the intermediate ones, so he could come back.
Interesting. Yes, Murni.
I think, getting into the nitty-gritty details of this, whether Nāciketa went to the Lord of Death, whether he actually died, it kind of is getting off the point, because now we're coming into the part of the Upanishad. I mean, this was just like providing us the context of a nice story so we can get into it. And now he's actually having this conversation with Yama, who is the keeper of, makes this, who is responsible for death of this body as we know it. So maybe now he's getting into that whole conversation, and it's a philosophical interpretation, right?
Yeah.
Nobody knows this, and we can have many books and we have to be convinced about it. So I'm not frazzled by all of these. The story part of it is kind of cool and neat to set it up. But now is where the philosophy is going to, whether it actually holds water or not. And whether, yes, you have the pramana of the scriptures. Yes, you have a guru who tells you, who has understood the scriptures properly. And so you don't get like stuck on these little tangents. And I guess the ultimate benefit is to feel, to get that sense, because like we are not just this body, we're also, we perceive our reality and that becomes our reality, right? So I think we're kind of getting to that part, our perceived reality becomes a reality along with our existing physical body itself. So I think we're getting into that state. So I think that's where the Upanishad is going to go, because Nāciketa himself, I mean, he wasn't very knowledgeable, right? He had the tendency, I mean, or I don't know, because this is, as you said, this is one of the later Upanishads. So maybe the lessons of the Upanishads were already known to folks at that time. I don't know. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah. No, I understand that we need not ask so much about the integrity of the story. There are many missing parts, but still, we are asking this question because sometimes these questions are bringing interesting answers. That's why we are trying to answer the questions. That does it have any meaning even than what is appearing as? Okay, so many things we are trying to read in between the lines. That's why some of the questions are being raised, because some of the questions lead to some more profound answers. Okay, profound answers. Yeah.
Maharaj, as they say that proof is in the pudding. Unless you die yourself, you don't know exactly what's going to happen.
True. And that is the thing. That is the thing.
And then you have to come back and tell us.
Yeah.
You might know, but we won't.
Yes, totally. All right. So now Yama does interesting thing. Yama is very happy that Nāciketa is asking this question, but Yama wants to make sure that Nāciketa is ready for the wisdom. Is he really fit to receive this instruction? So there is nothing wrong about it. There is a question of fitness in every aspect of life, right? Like if we go to a gym, we never have been, first thing they will do is assess where we stand in comparison to uh, a healthy person of my age, of my gender, where a healthy, normal person should be in terms of muscle flexibility, muscle strength, or cardiovascular strength, whatever the criteria. So they would try to assess. Then they will say, okay, yeah, here is a plan for you, right? So, yes, I understand you came to the gym seeing that those people are, lifting heavy weights, but wait, it is not yet for you. You cannot yet do that. You have to wait for some time. So, this is called adhikar. Adhikar is a technical word which means fitness. And one who is fit is called adhikari. So spiritual fitness is the term for adhikar. Or spiritually fit to receive the knowledge is adhikari. So just to refresh your knowledge, Vedanta says that an ideal spiritually fit person who can read Upanishad and grasp it well is one who has 4 types of qualities. So remember this. Let's remember this point. They are not practicing, they are established in them, these practices. Okay. They are really fit to receive this knowledge. Okay. Now, we don't want to right now go into that, whether how fit we are or not. Okay, but that is the context paradigm we have to remember, that Upanishad, which has also the meaning of the secret knowledge. Upanishad also means the secret knowledge. It was not given to all to fit people. Why? because we see that if it is not given to right type of people, they can be misinterpreted. They have a chance to get misinterpreted, and totally a new thing might start. Although even with after best of our efforts, we cannot stop that. But at that time, they wanted to limit this knowledge on to people who are they 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 are ready. They have to prove their worth, spiritual fitness. So those 4 practices or 4 disciplines, can you just all of you know? You don't have to tell the Sanskrit name. Tell me the English names of the 4 spiritual qualities. So anyone is allowed to speak only one. Okay? One should not speak all of the virtues. So fourfold qualities in Sanskrit, sadhana, chatushtaya, fourfold spiritual disciplines. So let me see what Betty wrote. Betty wrote fast. Betty wrote 2, viveka and vairagya. Okay. So anyone would try to explain viveka in simple term? What is viveka?
Discernment.
Huh?
Discernment between what is real and what is non-real.
Yeah, that is the technical definition. The what is permanent, what is temporary. Okay. In a more accessible way, we can think about viveka means giving spiritual life a priority. Spirituality should be a priority among the priorities. That we may say viveka. Okay.
In Bhagavad Gita language, can it be like knowing what is shreyas and preyas?
Yes, yes, totally. What is ultimate good and what is pleasant? Knowing the difference between the two is one aspect of discernment. But discernment actually is much more profound. You know, discernment means also using our judgments, and it is such a quality that discernment, if we have, or everybody of us has discernment. And the thing about discernment is, it's a kind of universal thing. If I have discernment about spiritual life, that discernment will also help me in other areas of life too. Okay. For example, today I was talking to someone who was regretting a decision for which they had to lose some good amount of money. Okay. So I told the person that after all, in the worst case scenario, you will be losing some dollars. Okay. Some dollars. But if you just let it go, what you will have is peace of mind. Okay, which is precious. You are not calculating the price of peace of mind. A few $100 they had come to your life earlier and will come also in future. So over this, if you are spending too much of effort and time how to save that money, that will be an unwise thing. Okay. So why I am telling this, that discernment works in every respect. What is more important? And it is important because discernment mostly involves valuing things which are subtle, which are not tangible thing, whose value we cannot immediately discern. Okay, it really requires discernment to put a value on mental peace. What is more important, mental peace or few $100? Okay, what is more important, my spiritual health or to keep up with the society? This type of things this subtle logic is viveka, subtle logic, and it applies in every respect. Every respect, like for example, what news to believe, what news to follow, that also depends our discernment. That one TV channel, news channel, I might like so much because it is telling the things I want to hear. Okay, that does not mean that channel is good. That channel is also causing probably a lot of anxiety in my mind. Okay, so this requires also viveka, that what is more valuable, that peace of mind and truthful and non-dramatic knowledge, non-dramatic news, or very colorful and delicious but poisonous, toxic news. That is also viveka. Viveka always means bringing into the equation something whose value we usually ignore. We cannot see those things, these invisible things. So viveka in Vedanta would mean that all the different ways of being happy in the world, I have seen, I have tried, or I have seen others trying. Okay, but let me also make my spiritual pursuit that to realize I have a spirit, a spiritual dimension in me. The Upanishads are telling, can I make it a priority in my life? Or it is the least priority thing in my life. I only engage in my spiritual practices only if all the other things I have completed, then only I am. That means this is not my priority. So that is viveka. And vairagya is letting go of the non-essentials, letting go of the non-essentials. And these non-essentials not only mean material things, that I have no attraction to objects or stuff or car or house, I am fine with that. But it also means letting go of the unimportant non-essential things. It happens every day in our life, that what is more important, and the relationship or being right. Sometimes we have to take decision about it. What matters more, that I am the right one, or just acknowledge, fine, and let the relationships go on. This kind of, so letting go of the non-essentials part, non-essential is vairagya. In fact, I would say that vairagya is important for flexibility, adaptability. The biggest skill human beings have over all other animals is adaptability, flexibility. We can adapt to unimaginable circumstances. Unimaginable circumstances, we can be adaptive. And that is the strength actually of a human mind. If you want to find out someone's strength, how adaptive that person is. So this letting go of the non-essentials make us adaptive and flexible. Letting go of unnecessary opinions, letting go of unnecessary value judgments. These also comes under vairagya. Because by vairagya, dispassion, we always think that, vairagya means letting go of all the enjoyments of life and rather live a very Spartan life, very austere life. No, not that. Vairagya means letting go of the non-essentials. So this, what is essentials and non-essentials, will depend upon again circumstances. At some circumstances, one thing may be essential. At changing circumstances, that could be non-essential part. Okay. So letting go of the non-essentials in favor of the essentials is vairagya. Okay.
विवेक बद्दल बोलले नाही कोणी विवेक म्हणजे
Okay, these are the two qualities, viveka and vairagya. And other qualities, just to take a review.
Shat Sampatti.
Yes.
Discipline.
Six treasures. Six treasures. Okay, sampatti means treasures. These are treasures. These are like our mental treasures. If we have these things, qualities or virtues, we are psychologically rich, psychologically or mentally affluent, if we have these six qualities. So can you just try to remember those ones?
Shama Dhamma.
Okay, Shama Dhamma, two. Okay.
Shama Dhamma Uparate Titiksha, Shraddha, and Mumukshu.
Samadhana, not mumukshut.
Samadhana, not mumukshu.
Yeah, yeah. So can anyone just try to go through one by one in English? Just one for each in English. Yeah.
Control of senses.
Control of senses, that is Dhamma, right? Yeah.
Control of mind is
Yes.
Shama.
Yes. Shama is control of the mind. Okay, peacefulness. So Dhamma, control of the senses, what it means actually? It means cutting down our consumptions. Frankly speaking, the more we consume through all these senses, the more troubles we have. So control the consumptions, quality as well as the quantity. Okay, what quality of things to consume, that is actually Dhamma. Okay, so endlessly I can remain engaged with 24-hour news cycle. Okay, but is it helping me? Not doing that is Dhamma. Okay. Similarly, endless engagement with things which do not produce any important result, that will be controlling, that is Dhamma. Shama is mental control. Rather, I would say that yes, controlling the mind, that is telling our mind, where to go, where not to go. Because sometimes the things keep on, probably physically we are not anymore engaging with the news, but in our mind, we are playing why this is happening, why that is happening there, what can be done about it. So although physically I may cut down my engagement unnecessary, but mentally I can still go through all of these things about the unnecessary things. So not to do that, to rather focus our mind to something which is soothing, relaxing, positive, healthy, wholesome, that is Shama. That is Shama. Instead of thinking of controlling the mind, if we think of engaging the mind in better and positive things, that will be a better practical definition of Shama. Okay. And Uparati. Uparati is, what is the meaning of Uparati?
Renunciation.
Renunciation.
Withdraw.
Withdrawal from desires, attachments.
Withdrawals from the, yes. Yeah. So understand it, Rati means, joy, or, the gusto in engaging with the pleasurable things. Okay, pleasurable things. And so pleasure motivates us to get more pleasures. Okay, so Uparati is understanding this tendency. Uparati means understanding this tendency that craving leads to more craving, and rather choosing a life of appreciating. Rather than craving, let us appreciate whatever we have. Okay, so instead of seeking achievements, accomplishments outside, which are extremely intoxicating. People value all these things, but instead of that, I would rather choose a quieter life, or a life of fulfillment, contentment, and peace. That is uparati. Okay, uparati. I would seek the joy not in the things and the senses which are outside, but more on things which are in my control. In my control. Okay. For example, I can endlessly engage with the world through social media, news channels, cable channels, but I can also choose to read a wonderful book. I find contentment in reading a book, a better source of joy and entertainment. That will be called uparati. Okay, uparati. So yeah, then titiksha. Who would like to speak on titiksha?
It's forbearance.
Forbearance, right? And what does it mean?
So not reacting to situations.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
not complaining, not wailing.
yes, yes. Is it possible?
It is possible based on Holy Mother's life.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, in psychology, they call a term distress tolerance. Distress tolerance, okay. That is, all of us to lead a healthy life, uh, we have to get comfortable with some amount of distress or discomfort. So, titiksha means getting at peace with those discomforts which we cannot remove from our life. Okay. There are some things which are discomforting, distressing at the same time. We cannot avoid them in our life. For example, there may be some difficult people in our life. Relationship. Okay. Nobody is happy about everything that other person has. There will be always something. And some of the relationship could be challenging. But we have no other option than to accept it and accept the discomfort every time we will have while interacting that difficult person. Okay. Or many like what is going on in the society, what is in this country going on, all of these uh, things which are under our control, we should try to do. Whatever things which are not our control, we should face them. We should not try to avoid them, but because avoiding them does not help. It comes back again and again. Help face those situations, and if we learn to try to live with little bit of discomfort, we'll find they are not as discomforting, distressing as we were thinking about. It is okay. It is okay. Like, okay, yeah, it's not pleasant. It is not that I like it, but it is okay to be with such problems. This is, I would say, titiksha. Titiksha. Okay. I could not hear you. You have to unmute. Yes, unmute. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yes.
The whole marketing strategy of all products is based on attracting our sense organs, right? That's why Costco gives those little samples so you can buy the whole big package.
Yeah.
So
Right.
if that Vivek comes in picture
Yeah.
at that time,
Yes.
that this is the
Yeah.
whole marketing is based on that.
Yes. Consumerism. Yes. Yes. Right. Titiksha. Then what else? Samadama, Uparati, Titiksha, and then
Shraddha. Shraddha.
Shraddha. So what is Shraddha?
Faith. Faith in the words of scripture or teachers.
Teacher. Yeah. And we say that it is very difficult to get it, have faith. So we can think of it about a working faith, some working faith to start or um, with an mindedness, if we can approach the scripture and trying to see the good things in the scripture. Okay. Uh, what is important part of the scripture, and that is Shraddha. That is Shraddha, right? And the teacher. And then Samadhana, right? Samadhana means concentration. So we need to understand Vedanta, to focus on the Upanishads, we need some degree of concentration or attention. Mind which is fidgety, which is restless, cannot grasp Upanishad. Okay. So samadhana means the habit, daily habit of controlling the mind, that is bringing it from all of the things and trying to settle on one particular idea or one particular subject. This practice, this is needed. So these things, although are not, does not seem very interesting things to do, but these are the things that make the difference between knowing something intellectually and really experiencing something. So yes, so that's why they say in traditional um, settings, they say that yes, probably you are doing your shravana and manana right, hearing and reflecting part, you are doing right. But what about the that four disciplines? So your understanding of the Upanishad, your penetration to the Upanishad will ultimately depend upon how well you are, um, how well you have prepared through these practices, or how established you are in these practices. Okay, so that is all the difference that makes between uh, really aparakṣyanubhuti or just an intellectual knowledge. And that will be the difference between that whether Vedanta will come to our help when we need them the most. In crisis, when you're in crisis, we might forget all the things about Upanishads. Okay, our nature, our habit will kick off. We'll start reacting instead of responding, and all of this in crisis. So, in crisis, to that the knowledge comes to our help, and it becomes more a feeling than a knowledge. Okay, that is how I can tell you. This is the difference between experiencing and simply learning or having an intellectual knowledge. That whether what we feel, not we think. If it changes our life, we'll start feeling differently. And for that, no one can overestimate the power of these spiritual practices. So earlier, that's why every teacher used to test the student on these scores. These were the SAT, right? Here you call SAT scores. So these were the SAT scores for enrollment. How well you are doing on these scores. So living a full hedonistic lifestyle and thinking of Vedanta on sitting on your couch will take it only that far. There is no but should not have any qualms about telling the truth. Okay, this is the truth. that how well we are established in these 4 disciplines will make all the differences about our doubt, our endless questions about Vedanta. All are not of not understanding. All these questions and doubts are about not living the life, not living the life. And what is living the life? Living the life is always comparing with these 6 practices, where I am, how I am doing on these scores. Okay. So that is the thing we have to do. So Yama, before giving out the knowledge about the reality, if there is a reality which is survives our physical body, he wants to make sure that Nāciketa, already a young boy, whether he has got some fitness. So he cannot check all of these, although Nāciketa has given some proof. For example, going without food and water for 3 days itself shows a great deal of shama, dhamma, uparati, all of this is not it. And asking the question, right question, which in the course of time we shall see Nāciketa will show more of his qualities, these 4 spiritual disciplines. So, but Yama wants to test how serious he is about learning the thing about Atma. That's why he wants to discourage. He wants to discourage Nāciketa. Don't ask this type of questions. Okay, these are problematic things. Better ask something else. And Nāciketa shows, no, he really means it. He really wants to know it. So that we could not touch today. Tomorrow we shall see that. In the next class, Yama plays different tricks to discourage Nāciketa. He has many tricks up his sleeves. He uses one after one another to see Nāciketa, how serious Nāciketa is about this knowledge. And by that way, he is testing the adhikar, the spiritual fitness of Nāciketa. We shall see that, okay? Verse 21, 22 onward. So next Friday, we won't have the class. I will go to Washington, D.C. Yes, for 5 days, I'm going to Washington, D.C. Center. So next Friday, we won't have class, but we will have the class the following Friday. Okay, following Friday. We should start with the 3rd boon and how Yama wants to discourage Nāciketa.
Right, the 4th qualification was mumukshatva. You forgot.
Fourth one is mumukshatva. Yes, we forget about it. The desire to get that knowledge, desire, the hunger for spiritual knowledge. Okay, so it is very simple. If there is no hunger, no amount of food can do anything. So how hungry Nāciketa is for the wisdom, that's what Yama will test. Okay, we shall see that in later classes. Any comment, question quickly? And to have?